Dan.
Hi, Brandon.
Hi, Dan. We're at FanX.
We are.
That's our opener.
We are live right now at FanX, which is the big, huge comic pop culture convention in Salt Lake City, Utah.
Yep.
It's gargantuan. People who have never been to FanX assume that because it's in Utah, it must be small. It is actually the third biggest pop culture convention in the country.
Yeah. It is ginormous.
So.
And I was telling the people here in the pre-show, our very interesting pre-show, this is where Intentional Lake started, in this room.
Yes.
They put us in this room, it was like 6 or 7 years ago. They just put me and you on a panel and didn't tell us what to do. They just, we're just on a panel, and they're like, find something to talk about.
They like had a hole in their schedule.
Yeah.
They're like, what are we gonna put in the big room?
These
guys.
And they just stuck us in a panel together, on a panel together, and so we just started talking, and we found, because we've been friends since college, that we enjoy talking.
Yeah. I want to point out that Kara came up with 2 bottles of water, gave one to me, and then left with the other one. You don't get one.
My son, who is doing his first time as my assistant, because he's now 14, and so we're letting him do assistant duty, went and got me water from the green room. So mine is fancy green room, famous person water.
Oh, I see how it is.
Yeah.
Do you guys love the implication that in the Sanderson household it's, son, you're a man now. You're old enough to bring me water.
Yes, fancy water, fancy famous person water. Hey, food heist.
Food heist. You want to hear a food heist?
Yes.
Okay, so this is not a specific individual food heist. This is a string of food theft.
Woo! It's a food like.
It's like a black
a
market.
Cartel of of food heists.
This is in Manhattan.
Pablo Escargot.
They found that people are stealing pints of ice cream from like little convenience stores, Duane Reade's, CVS.
Okay.
They are smuggling them out of the convenience store in their pants, which is my favorite part of the story.
Okay.
And then that melted ice cream gets refrozen and resold to bodegas, which is why if you've ever bought ice cream in a bodega in New York, it's like super freezer burned. It's because it gets smuggled in pants. Yeah, this is like a real thing.
This is in like all across New York.
I don't think it's all across New York.
Okay.
But yeah.
Ben Jerry's in their pants.
Yeah. They target Ben & Jerry's and Haagen-Dazs and Talenti specifically.
I kind of always thought that Haagen-Dazs might secretly be a German word for something embarrassing.
It means pants ice cream in Dutch.
Yeah, pants ice cream.
So far, the police have busted 7 thieves. One particular incident of shoplifting by itself was over $1,600.
Wait, one instance.
One instance of stolen ice cream, $1,600.
Wait. I'm processing this. $1,600 of ice cream in their pants. This is New York. I guess it's New York. So like a thing of Ben & Jerry's like $300.
Yeah, they went to the green room and got the fancy important person ice cream. This is my favorite paragraph, so I'm going to read it to you. Cops grilled them for the names of bodegas that are buying the desserts in bulk, but they were tight-lipped, and tracking the items is difficult. The evidence is eaten, the source said. So yeah. There is an underground black market for like melted pants ice cream in Manhattan. And we're going to Manhattan in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So
actually, you know what?
Number 1 thing on my list.
This is a perfect job for ice cold and lukewarm.
Oh my gosh!
Their first days.
Yes!
Because they're taking ice cold ice cream and they're making it lukewarm.
Okay, well, there you go.
I
almost feel like we don't need a bad story idea now.
I had a stroke of genius this morning.
Okay.
Okay, you're gonna love this. You know, you may not have heard it, but we had a podcast where the bad story idea was about Luke Gorgeous.
Luke Gorgeous.
Going back in time and making everybody's stories bad so that his looked better, right? I came up with a title for it. Luke Gorgeous and the Multiverse of Mediocrity.
That's actually amazing.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
So-
Someone suggested on the YouTube comments that we get Ryan Reynolds as Luke Gorgeous. You think we can swing that?
Oh yeah, he'd be really good.
I think he'd be down for it.
He'd be perfect. He
Yeah.
likes dumb movies.
Well, now he's not going to say yes.
No. We like dumb movies too.
Okay, yes.
Okay.
do.
Okay. Bad story idea. Okay. I was reading.
Hang on. I'm going to fill my mouth with water just in case I need to,
Do a
a spit take.
Okay. So I was talking to Ben. You know Ben, our mutual friend Ben,
Yes.
who was your roommate then my roommate.
Yes.
And he told me this outlandish idea that I don't think it can possibly be true. Because he talked about a world where you have to get up in the morning at a specific time. Doesn't that sound far-fetched?
I'm not buying this.
Yeah, and
Wait, are we talking about adults? Because my kids have to get up.
yeah,
to
kids,
go to
yeah, we
school.
don't pay attention to them. Yeah.
Okay.
In a world like
Yeah.
and it was like early. It was like 8 o'clock or something like that.
That's grotesque.
Yeah, it's like 2 hours after you go to bed.
Is this a prison?
Yeah. And then it gets worse.
Okay.
He has to go to a specific place every day.
The same place
Same
every
place
day.
every day, and they don't let him write stories.
Can he go in his pajamas?
No, he's got to wear like real clothes. They don't let him write stories, and there's a mean person there that if he tries to write stories instead of doing the other stuff they tell him to do, they take away his money.
So this is a horror story.
It's a dystopian horror story.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna talk about.
No segue whatsoever.
No, that's obviously not an actual bad story idea. I actually have one. We'll do it on our next episode. But I actually have these things. I didn't
what
tell
are
you
they?
about this.
No. You kept them far away because they're
kept them far away.
radioactive.
I brought something very cool.
Okay.
Well, you know how on the podcast I am always signing something.
Uh-huh.
I brought
Do I have to sign things?
us intentionally blank cards with a FanX thing on the back.
Oh,
And
nice.
so we can give them to people who came to our panel.
Sweet. Okay. Messing around to get my pen out of my pocket involved messing with the...
Yeah. I don't know if this is going
Okay.
to make it much less interesting because we're going to be looking down.
Yeah.
But
Also, he's good at this. I've never done
Yeah.
this before. I can't sign and talk at the same time.
oh, Dan, I'm gonna test you. So we are talking today about jobs.
I hope you guys like looking at like my bald spot instead of my face.
We don't have to do this. You don't want. I just
No,
thought it was great.
I
We can
think
give
it's
them away.
awesome.
We can just we don't have to sign the whole
No,
time. We
these
can
are
just
amazing.
occasionally-
Also, like this card left intentionally blank. That's the funniest thing. If I ever get a tattoo, it will be a lower back tattoo that says, "This space left intentionally blank."
See, because I spend the whole podcast signing stuff. It makes sense, doesn't it?
Yes.
You gotta leave room for me. See, your name is
Oh,
right there.
wait.
And my name, you're signing my name. Do I have to sign your name now? I'll sign your
I
name.
didn't realize we were both signing both cards.
I
You just
don't know.
complicated this process.
I don't know. That maybe,
significantly.
Those are the misprints that are going to be extra valuable.
Okay.
So we thought we'd actually talk about jobs today, right? The idea being that jobs that we'd had, what we felt about having our jobs,
Yes.
and how we found our way to writing.
Well, and it's a good thing for artists to talk about, professional, self-employed artists. I went to my 20-year high school reunion, a surprisingly and painfully large number of years in the past from this conversation. And they do those little games, you know, and I can't gesture
No.
and sign
you can talk
at the same time.
You sign while I'm talking.
Okay.
And I sign while you're talking.
Excellent.
And then we're both more engaged and interested.
There we go. So you know those things they do at high school reunions where they're like, who has the most kids? Who traveled the farthest? And all that. They did who's had the most jobs since graduating. And everyone was like 3 or 4 at the most. Except for me and my friend who became a filmmaker who tied for 14. So yeah, artists have a lot of jobs as we just kind of scrimp and save and try to pay bills and feed children. So
what was your first?
My first job out of college? Out of high school?
Like high school, yeah. What was your high school
First job out of high school.
Did you have a job in high school?
I had a job in high school.
Okay.
My very first paying professional job when I was 16 years old was right over here in the Salt Lake City Cemetery. I was a groundskeeper.
Okay.
Which is very fitting, I think, for me.
Yeah. Wow. I
that-
didn't know this.
You didn't know that?
No.
It was fun. I worked 1 week on the mowing crew,
Yeah.
which was awful because you had to like walk around in the sun and carry heavy things. And then I got onto the watering crew, and I spent the rest of the summer just watering lawns at the cemetery, which was great. It was awesome.
Have I told you the story about my son Dallin and cemeteries? So
No.
Dallin is my kid who likes the macabre, right? He's one of us. He's a little weirdo.
This is the one who wants to be a zombie and pretend to be a prop.
I told that on the. So he was, I kid you not, he was like 4, right? Where he's 4 years old, and my grandmother passes away, his great-grandmother. And so we go to the graveside, to a graveyard, and he was just at the window, eager. And then we drove through the graveyard, and he went like this, and then he looked at us, and he's like, "Where are the hands?" I kid you not. He's 4. He's not like, and he'd been playing Plants vs. Zombies, the video game, and it starts with a hand coming out of the grave, and they have the graves and stuff. He legit thought you buried someone with their hand out, and it really ruined his entire day. He'd been looking forward to the funeral, and I had no idea why this is going to be a boring thing for a 4-year-old. No, he was really excited, and he got to the graveyard, and there's no zombie hands.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
That's my favorite thing. So working in a cemetery, I had a lot of time to see all the different kinds of headstones and to decide which kind of headstone I eventually want to have. Like, do you want to have the, kind of classic graveyard kind of thing or something wide? There's some that are benches. I eventually settled on my ideal headstone for my grave is a drinking fountain.
You are so weird. Wait, did you say a drinking fountain?
A drinking fountain, yeah. Big stone thing, and it says, here lies our beloved husband and father, Dan Wells, 1977 to 2024. I don't know how long I'm going to live. And then at the top, there's a little spigot coming out, and you can get a drink.
It's going to turn into a pilgrimage site,
yeah.
Right? Yeah. It's
going to be amazing.
When society collapses and all they have is intentionally blank, and they dig it up, and they're like, ooh, the sacred documents, whatever, they'll be like, oh, we have to make a pilgrimage to the sacred water fountain.
Yes.
You're going to start a religion.
All the Dan Wells super fans are like, yes, we must drink Dan-flavored water.
Okay. My first job was in high school.
Okay.
And it was also thematically appropriate a little bit. I was a paperboy.
Ooh.
Yes, kind of writing
Okay.
adjacent, right? By the way, paperboy, worst job in the world. Any former paper carriers here? Yeah, worst job, right? Like they make you're like 12, right? And you're an independent contractor, and so which is just the dumbest thing in the world, right? And so they sell you the newspapers, and you resell them for the price that they say. Using their rules, their delivery mechanisms. You're just employees, but they skirt around giving you any benefits. And then you have to collect the money and pay them back for the newspapers that you've gotten. It is such a scam. It's a job that a 12-year-old can have. So I guess there's that. And it was, good to get me out of the house. So that part was good, but I look back at them like, you are absolutely exploiting these kids.
Yeah, well,
this
and
is-
their parents.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you're really exploiting their parents. I had an afternoon paper, not a morning paper because me. But I had to deliver the
Your
Saturday.
afternoon paper was a morning paper.
I had to deliver the Saturday and Sunday in the morning. And oh man, that I can barely remember ever doing it despite having done this for like 4 years. Because those times are a blur. I don't know that people got their newspapers, or if I was walking around just, throwing my socks at them or things. I'm like, tie up the newspaper, throw it. Yeah.
So I was also a paper boy,
Okay.
which I guess I wasn't counting as a real job, because it isn't really. But
No, you're an independent contractor.
you're an independent
yeah.
contractor. So, and that's when the movie Newsies came out.
Oh.
And they took every paper boy in Salt Lake City got to go see an advanced screening of Newsies.
The newspaper did? Did they
the
know what it was
newspaper
about?
did. Clearly not.
A movie about corporations exploiting newspaper boys?
Yeah, they had no idea what they were getting themselves into. And then we rose up and did musical martial arts.
Was Christian Bale your leader?
No.
Oh. It was Utah, so it might have been a baleful Christian. Who led you? Oh, that was good. Come on. That's at least as good as Luke Gorgeous.
Oh, okay. Hang on. Talk for a minute. I have to recover. Okay, next job. After
Yep.
Paperboy and then cemetery, I was a clerk in this is also a high school job. I was a clerk in a canvas shop called Sugar
Wait.
House Awning.
Canvas?
Yeah.
There are stores that sell only canvas.
Yeah, mostly it was awnings and boat covers.
That's a really specialized store. I had no.
It was 2 blocks from my house, and
Uh-huh.
so that's where I was able to get a job.
Okay. And how old were you?
This was the summer between junior and senior year of high school.
Okay. So, is there anything amusing about selling canvas?
No, there isn't. I'm just trying to go through the list. No, there wasn't really anything fun or exciting. I liked the people that I worked with. The job wasn't funny.
I
Yeah.
mean,
But you know-
it is funny in its mundanity. Mm-hmm. I mean, you
Yeah.
sold canvas.
I sold canvas.
Like that's the sort of job you give to somebody when you're coming up with the most boring job. People think
Yeah.
it's accounting, but it's not. They're like, what are you going
Yeah.
to do? It's the death of a salesman. I want the most boring job possible. What are they going to sell? Canvas.
Like that's got to be like one of Harry Potter's jobs in between school years.
Right.
It was like,
Yeah.
you live under the stairs and you sell canvas for a living.
Someone here is a canvas salesperson, and they are like, no. There are like 17 different varieties of canvas that you have to use in different situations. They're building a canvas-based magic system right now.
That would be amazing. Second job for you.
Okay, second job for me was thematically relevant again.
Ooh.
Library, BYU.
Okay.
I got fired. I got fired from the library. Guess what book series I wrote soon thereafter? This is true. This is 100% true. So, all right, so I thought, hey, library, good job for a guy who loves books, right? And so I go to the library and I apply for their job. And they did this thing where they would hire 4 people and keep 2 of them, which I think is kind of whatever.
Very Hunger Games.
Very Hunger Gamesy. So they hired 4 of us, and and I said, okay, good. I'm going to be good at this job. I know books. I'm actually a very kind of friendly customer service person. And then they sat me in a seat, and they said, your job is to look through this catalog and then look up in our thing and see if we have this book. And if we have this book, you put a cross through it. And if we don't have the book, you circle it. And that is what you're going to do every day for 8 hours. And I'm like, do I help people? And they're like, if You have to. Like if someone shows up and is just like, won't leave you alone, you can help them. But your job is actually to help the librarians who maintain the collections at the library know which books they have. And these were not like, I'm not like, oh, do we have the new Robert Jordan? No. This is university library. It is like, do we have the particulate infusions of Canvas-based mathematics? Volume 17.
Oh, that's the best volume.
Yeah. And meanwhile, I wanted to help people find books. And I got in trouble for leaving my post and going back to the section and telling people which books were great. This is not like a public library. This is a university library. And I would come back and they're like, you have not finished your catalog. I'm like, a person needed to know that Guy Gavriel Kay is a really great writer and is underappreciated, and he helped write the Silmarillion. And they're like, no, do your book thing. Do you read? And I lasted like a month. Maybe not even that long, before they're like, you're a square peg in a round hole, is what they told me. They were probably right. I think that their hole was stupid. So I parted ways with that company. Meanwhile, my wife had a job 3 floors down where they actually let her help people.
What?
Yeah, she was at the reference desk, and they let the reference desk help people, but not the desk next to the science fiction section. I know, right?
I love the idea of some library admin being like, where should we put the worst job we have? Next to the science fiction section. My college job, I also had one of those dumb student jobs at BYU.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was a custodian in the fine arts building.
Ooh.
Once again, I don't have a cool thing to tell you.
No, that's adjacent to us.
It is adjacent to art.
Yeah.
It was the Fine Arts Center, so it's mostly theater and music.
I have seen this movie. The custodian at the art thing is always a secret artist genius. And it's true. It's
Yes.
like Good Will Hunting.
Except I was like playing trumpet in the halls instead of solving math problems.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
He was the trumpet player, not me.
Yeah.
The cool thing about this, the Harris Fine Arts Center, BYU, it looks like it's maybe 3 or 4 stories tall. It's like 19 stories tall, but they're all underground.
Yeah.
And you can just go down and down and down.
It reaches straight to Asphodel, right?
Yeah.
Like it is, like I always hated getting a class there because I'm like, oh no, right? How am I going to find this class?
Is this going to be in one of the
always have
classrooms that
classes
touches
there,
sunlight? No.
right?
And there, because I asked somebody at some point, like, what's the actual lowest level? And so they took me one level below what I already thought was the lowest level. And they're like, this is the furnace room. And you go in, and it's this huge cement room where they have this giant furnace that's at least 2 stories below where you stand to look at it. It goes so deep.
That's the heat of the underworld.
Yeah, it was just geothermal or infernal heating.
Yeah. No, except I used Asphodel in the Inferno. Isn't Asphodel cold? Someone give me.
I don't
know.
remember.
Which one is cold?
I was
going
to say Kyber because I'm a D&D nerd.
What's that? The one in the actual Dante's Inferno, one of the ones we think is hot is actually cold, but it's called Inferno, so I'm sure part of it's hot.
It's got to be.
Yeah, I think the center's hot, the outside's cold.
Or Dante just didn't know what that meant.
I'm sure Dante did not know what the word hot meant. I'm sure the word hot, yeah.
Or the translator.
What's that? It's the 9th level. I know. I believe you guys played the video game Hades, right? They like some of you say they have like a level full of lava and stuff, and I think they had to like cheat and be like, yeah, this, because in the actual Inferno this wasn't like one of the hot levels. They're like, the river of lava broke and flooded it, so that it's actually what people expect from going to Hades. But what's that? I don't know. I'm not sure. All right. So here's the thing.
Okay.
After the library, my next job was the hotel, and this was my last job ever. This was so I got fired from the library, right? Not bitter at all. Did not write a 6-book series. about my experiences with the wrong kind of librarians. There's lots of great librarians out there. I just did not have the experiences with them. So I get fired, and I'm like, this is kind of a big deal because, oh yeah, we need to swap now, huh? So that we can sign each other's cards. So I'm like, what do? I can't actually pay for college. Do I go home? I forgot a job. I'll tell you in a minute.
Okay.
What do I do? And meanwhile, my roommate at the time, Micah DeMoe, for whom Captain DeMoe is named in the Mistborn books, was like, oh, hey, you should come work at the hotel with me. We actually need a night person to work overnight, and you stay up all night. And I'm like, this is genius. Micah, you're a genius, because I'm like, do you think I can, write stories? They're like, yeah, sure. All we would want is you to stay awake. The previous guy that we had fell asleep on the couch and wouldn't check people in. I'm like, you actually want me to help the people who come in? You don't secretly want me to look and see if each room has a specific kind of painting and look through the paint? He's like, no, your job is to make people happy. You don't have to sell anything on the night audit, right? It's Provo, Utah. People don't come in after about 7 p.m., right? Like curfew for a lot of, these people is like 7:05. And so I would get there at 10 p.m. and he was right. Almost no one would come in. A lot of hotels, a lot of motels in particular, you would have, people driving on the freeway and stop. Here, it's like 11 p.m., crickets, right? It's just empty. Even when the sports team came, that everybody is at other hotels hates the sports teams. Here, they were really good. I don't know what it is about Provo. Maybe it's something they put in the water.
There's no trouble they could go get into.
Yeah, there's no trouble to go get into.
You know who did show up late at your hotel all the time was us.
Yes.
Our group of nerd friends, we would show up, we'd play Magic the Gathering, we would do role-playing games, we would be there all hours of the night because the guy in charge was our friend.
Yeah, it had a nice lobby. We all were poor students, and so we had pretty small houses. And this nice lobby with a fireplace.
Oh, it was so cool.
And, cushy couches and leftover donuts that was my job to throw away sometimes from the day before. And you know what? When you're a college student, you're like, wait, leftover donuts? They're only a day old? You and Micah did get me a job. That was my next job after that one. I did work there in the hotel, but only for a few months. I was the breakfast guy. I was the one that set out the donuts and did the orange juice machine and all this kind of stuff. It was not a very good breakfast. It wasn't like the kind that they make eggs or whatever. But we eventually got.
I did work in that hotel.
We eventually got one of those, so we could say they could say we had a hot breakfast. They got a waffle iron.
Yeah.
And this stuff that just came in a big thing that you just dump in.
See, when I was there, it was just a toaster and a bunch of Eggo waffles. And they're like, enjoy our complimentary hot breakfast. Thanks a lot.
It was actually a really great place to work, but it never worked out for any of my other writer friends, right? Like Isaac tried as well, who's now my art director. He tried to get it. He got a job at the same hotel, but he made the mistake of getting the one by the freeway. Same hotel chain. And so he was busy all night. But also, Isaac turns into, I was going to say a pumpkin, but really he turns into Weird Isaac at about 11 p.m., right? You guys know
Weird
this.
Isaac.
Yeah. Like he would not mind me saying this. At about 11 p.m., Isaac's, the part of Isaac's brain that says, don't say that, goes to sleep. Right? You may have friends that part's always asleep. But with Isaac, about 11 p.m., he is not a night person. Oh, I missed one.
He thinks he's so good at signing stuff. He missed one. Okay, so that was your last job before going full-time,
Yeah,
right?
except I skipped one.
What was the one you skipped?
I skipped when I got back. So I served a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Korea. I got back, and my mom and dad are like, we have lined up a job for you so that you can be a productive member of society. You are going to sell corn on the side of the road. This is Idaho.
I wish that I had known that.
Yeah, 90% of Idaho sells corn or potatoes on the side of the road.
I am confident.
It's just a place you go, yeah.
I am confident in saying that I and every other person in this room is absolutely heartbroken that I never got the chance to buy corn from Brandon Sanderson on the side of the road.
On the side of the road, yeah. So
Can we do like a pop-up kiosk sometime?
This is, I mean, I grew up in Nebraska, so corn,
Yeah.
a thing. And they had lined up this job for me, and there's some fun aspects to it because I had decided while I was in Korea I wanted to be a writer. I just decided it years before, but while I was in Korea, I'm like, no, I'm really going to do this.
Yeah.
And I had been, as a missionary, you have one day off a week, and I had been working on my first story in a notebook, handwritten.
I still have the notebook where I was writing fantasy stories on my mission in Mexico.
Yeah, we gotta. Oh, I've still got mine too.
Yes. Future episode right there.
We'll bring them along, and you don't get a lot done. 1 day a week, and it's a day where you have to do like all your laundry and stuff too. So you don't get very far in a book, but sitting by the side of the road in a pickup truck with a bunch of corn in the back and a sign that says "Buy corn." You actually have a lot of time just sitting there. And so I sat there and I worked on the story. And I did a whole bunch of notes on this thing and worked on this thing just sitting in the front cab of that truck. But I got to tell you, you're going to love this. I was raised, my mom's an accountant, right? And I have an entrepreneurial streak, if you can't tell by the way that I've approached my career. I always say that, this is what one of my big advantages is that I am a writer who was raised by an accountant. So when I'm writing stories, only the story matters. But when I'm done, I lock the writer in a closet, I take the manuscript, and I exploit it in any way humanly possible, right? And my dad, who had set up this job for me, he was actually, he said, all right, you're an independent contractor. I'm like, oh, really? It's like, yes, you go and you pick up the corn. And my dad was facilitating this as a side job. And so he actually had several of these places selling corn. And you pick up the corn here. These are the seconds. Not the seconds. You could go early and get it from this guy's field. So they weren't the seconds. They were good corn. But the rest would get machine taken to the supermarkets.
How early did you have to go to get corn out of a guy's field?
I was right back from a mission, so it was like 8 in the morning.
Okay.
And it was fine because it wasn't 6 in the morning.
I'm just imagining your dad being like, okay, you don't have to talk to the guy. Just show up really early before he's awake and take the corn directly out of his field.
Right.
Trust me, I've paid him already.
So the way that my dad worked with all these people is we were contractors. He was the facilitator. And we bought the corn from him, and then we took it to the stand, and we put out the sign of the guy's farm it was, and we sold the corn. And this time, I was not taking it. I realized that the corn would sell just as well. It was like, I can't remember. It was like, 12 for $1. I'm like, it sells just as well as 12 for $1.50. And then I get 50 cents extra per sale because I'm an independent contractor. Therefore, I should be able to charge the prices to fit the market because I'm the retailer.
Nice.
And my dad did not like that at all. He once drove by and he's like, $1.50 for 12? What are you doing? I'm like, well, supply and demand. So.
That's fantastic.
Mm-hmm. So I made a little extra money.
Okay, well, everyone look forward to the Dragonsteel corn kiosk in the parking lot of a gas station somewhere in Pleasant Grove at some point.
I forgot another job. Do you have another one? Do you do another one? I forgot another job.
Okay, so I, at this point, post the hotel, I started getting corporate jobs.
Oh, that's right. You had to do like...
So I worked for 2 years at New Skin down in Provo. Hawken Shampoo.
But you were the creative writer, weren't you?
I was the creative writer, and I was on the corporate
writer.
side. Yeah. So they were like, "Here,
those.
you need to write 50 different congratulations letters that all sound different from each other." And I'm like, and then I killed that guy. It was not super fun. I wrote so many training manuals as a part of that job. And then I went to Icon Health and Fitness, which is up here in Logan. Worst employer in the state, at least 20 years ago when I was there.
Allegedly. By his opinion.
When I was there, it was a terrible place to work. And I was there for exactly 11 months before I could stand it no longer. And then I went down and I worked at a place in Spanish Fork. And I have had a lot of jobs. I worked for a scrapbooking company in Pleasant Grove.
Yep, that was the stew bad place.
That was the stew bad. Well, no, it was the Trevani was the stew bad place.
Oh, I always thought it was the scrapbooking
Close to my
company.
heart was the place where I'm like, I can stand this no longer. I must write about serial killers right now, or I will become one. And then I know there's others. A lot of them are just work for hire and temporary stuff. But yes, what's the other one you forgot?
Okay, so this is another one of these interim jobs when I'm just back from the mission. You can only really sell corn during the corn season. Who knew? And BYU didn't start up till January. And so corn season ends. It's like early November for this farmer, and I need a job for 2 months. And again, my parents are there because this is how my parents are. They're like, we have lined up another job for you. I'm like, okay, great. And it was selling ties at a pop-up seasonal cart in the mall at Idaho Falls across from Suncoast Motion Picture Company, where they played Jingle All the Way in the windows on repeat every day. Oh, Melissa's nodding. This is right. So Melissa was a bookseller for many years. Now you're a librarian, a good librarian, up in Idaho Falls. And this is, the Barnes & Noble wasn't there yet when I was doing this. And Melissa was an employee at the Barnes & Noble. But so it was right there kind of where the Barnes & Noble is now. And I sold ties. I sold neckties. And listened or watched, because there was no sound, watched Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sinbad, struggle for a superhero toy in a really bad movie, like over and over again. I've never heard this movie. I've seen it
only in audio.
Hundreds of times.
It is a silent film.
Yes. I'm sure many who saw it wished it were.
You don't know. Maybe the dialogue was like brilliant.
It's possible. It's possible that this movie that has like a 3% on Rotten Tomatoes is secretly a gem, and that's all a conspiracy against me.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's written in iambic pentameter. I'm sure Arnold would do a great job with that.
Oh yeah, absolutely amazing. It's the visuals that it's just this weird artistic mishmash thing that they were doing. Okay, so. First of all, we've learned that our corn kiosk is also going to sell ties.
Yes. This was unfortunately post Jerry Garcia. Jerry Garcia was like post the Jerry Garcia ties. We didn't have any of those.
No.
So maybe they were too fancy for us, or.
Well, you were doing seasonal like Christmas ties too, right?
The idea was you sold them to people who wanted a present for their dad.
Oh,
who didn't know what to sell. That's why it was. There were some seasonal, but people didn't buy those.
So they weren't like covered with reindeer.
No. Oh, this is Idaho. They were covered with elk for you to shoot.
Oh, okay.
I'm not joking. Like the best seller was an elk tie.
No, because Ben of our podcast, who is from Iona, Idaho.
Yep.
The one tie he's given me has a moose on it.
Yeah. It's like what you want to do is you want to go to church. And you want to be able to look around and imagine all the things that you can murder. Right? Metaphorically as nooses around the necks of the men near you. And, that's just what it's about.
Yeah. Church in Idaho, I guess.
Yeah.
Now, that's going to be a giant rush. Everyone's going to want to go. Well, the convention ends Saturday, and Idaho's not very far away. If you want to go to church in Idaho Falls this Sunday, you can do it. I believe in you.
This is, I don't know, church in Idaho is really rural Idaho. I've been to church there. You show up, and people are like, so, does anyone want to what are we doing today? Like, that happens so often.
Yeah.
Like, you go to one of the meetings, and someone's like, what are we talking about?
had the lesson
Yeah,
today?
what do you, it happened like, that's a joke in a meme, but they were just all laid back about it. It was actually really fun. They're just like, hey, Jim, you went hunting. Tell us about the trip. Like, we would do that a whole bunch.
Okay.
And it was real laid back, and it actually
Did they
really
draw
enjoyed it.
spiritual metaphors out of those stories?
Don't remember a lot of those, but camaraderie is like an important thing. So talking about your hunting trip,
Okay.
it was one in a very long string of places I went that did not know what to do with me, right? Because they're like, so Brandon, did you do any hunting? And I'm like, I wrote a science fiction novel, and they're like, about what? And I'd be like, it's a post-cyberpunk story about an immortal man who, and they're like, I mean, they were very nice. They were super
Very
nice.
nice, very
They were like,
supportive. That's
you
great.
still selling corn?
Get that good corn.
Yep.
Okay, should we, do you want to hear about my newest job?
I do want to
My
hear about your
blandest, newest
your brandest
job.
Dan is changing jobs on Monday. Dan is changing jobs.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Guess who I am going to be working for? Brandon! So, a couple of years ago, he wrote a book called Apocalypse Guard that didn't work.
Yes.
And he brought it to me and said, hey, do you want to collaborate on this book and maybe you can help me fix it? And so I did another draft and we looked at it and said, yeah, this still doesn't work. But we very much enjoyed the process of writing together. And so then he gave me Dark One. And he said, here, this is an outline that I have. Do you want to collaborate on another book? And so I wrote that one. And this one did work.
Yes. It's
And
very
it worked
good.
very well, and we both really loved the experience, again, of working together, co-writing books, doing all this stuff. And so then...
Meanwhile, on my side, the whole Brandon Sanderson thing has gotten kind of big.
yes, it is.
And I was talking to my team, and I'm like, I need help with the narrative side of this. I need another brain. The goal will be eventually, like, we're going to do Dark One, but the goal will eventually be to have Dan just kind of help me work on the Cosmere and things like this. Like, I need another writing brain. And I need somebody who can write stories that I can't, was another thing. And stuff like that. And I've been thinking for a while, I'm like, I need another me. And the idea kept coming to me.
Can
I'm
you
like,
imagine, by the way, someone who writes 4 secret novels and is like, this is not enough?
It isn't, because it's not just those, though. It's like the whole concept behind it,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Like, I need help to manage the whole thing. Not just the books, but, the entire series. And I'm like, well, Dan's the best writer I know. Maybe I should ask Dan. I'm like, Dan's like doing his RPG man thing. You've left that one out.
Yeah, I was a professional game master for 3 years.
And
Ended that 2 weeks ago because of this.
And I'm like, yeah, I mean, he gets to play games for a living. Why would he want to? But I'm like, well, if he works for me, he doesn't have to get up at a specific time. And he can wear his pajamas.
I'm going to.
And so I came to him, I'm like, do you want to come on full-time as the vice president of narrative at my company? And so Dan is coming on Monday as the vice president
Starting Monday.
of narrative at Dragonsteel.
Yeah. So that is going to entail writing a bunch of books. There'll be a bunch of co-written Dan and Brandon Cosmere books.
Yep.
We're going to start with some non-Cosmere stuff because we got to get Dark One.
Yep, we're really excited by Dark One, and it's that's our first project.
Yeah.
If you don't know what Dark One is, it's It's kind of like, it's a book I've been wanting to write for like 20 years. You can see on like me talking about it, honestly, like 10 years ago. It's the idea of teenager finds out that he's, the prophesied person from a fantasy world that he's going to get to go to, except he's prophesied to be the Dark Lord who's going to destroy them, and they've decided to preemptively try to assassinate him so that he can't come take over the fantasy world. So it's what if you find out Narnia's real and it's trying to kill you? Which is just such a Dan story.
So it's a portal fantasy. Kid from our world goes into a fantasy world.
Yep.
Evil sorcerer from fantasy world comes into our world and starts murdering people.
Yep.
So there's a lot of Dan and Brandon crossover there.
Yep.
The book itself, we still are in the process of revising that. But as early as January, the prequel will be available in audio.
You can't call it a prequel because you wrote it before the book.
I understand. So we wrote a thing called Dark One Forgotten, which is written, and it is audio native, specifically because we wanted to do it in the style of a true crime podcast.
It's basically like Serial, but fake.
Yeah. Imagine if Serial was, if halfway through Serial they discovered that there was a supernatural serial killer murdering people. That's what Dark One Forgotten is. It's 6 episodes, hour-long mockumentary podcast thing. It's really cool. I turned in the final revisions this morning. It's great.
So this is what we're doing. This is the new thing.
Yeah.
So now he can come do Intentionally Blank and actually get paid for it.
Get paid for it. Now it's on the clock. I will say, to mollify any fears that might be out there, though don't think I didn't notice the huge applause he got when he got up on the stage, and I got very tiny applause when I got up on the stage. But my own career is not disappearing. I'm still going to be writing my own stuff. As of yesterday, we finally said yes to the last contract Netflix is buying, 0G. And we're very excited about that. So there's still Dan Wells' alone stuff. There's still going to be Brandon writing his own stuff, but there's going to be a lot of overlap with the two of us. So hooray!
Hooray! How's that, FanX?